Hey, today is Earth Day 2022, and what a special one. Uh, Earth Day is on April 22nd, and this year ends in the two digits, 22nd. So I consider that a special Earth Day. It's the 52nd Earth Day, and in the more than half a century since the first one was held, our fight to protect the planet has only grown tremendously. Because it's going to be a long road for us. Now, before this COVID-19 pandemic struck, the world was gearing up to make fighting climate change its top priority. We had all these mass movements all over the place. Fridays for Futures, Extinction Rebellion, and it's looking like the world, humanity is now going on a different course, rising up to meet this challenge. And then COVID-19 came, and for 2 years the entire world's attention was diverted elsewhere. We all struggled to get through the pandemic, to protect people from the disease and stop it from spreading. And climate change, it just faded from our minds, even as some of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic helped to relieve the burden humanity was placing on the environment. But those are not permanent solutions. We can't stop greenhouse gas emissions forever by continuing lockdowns for everybody. Well, now, after more than 2 years, this pandemic is subsiding. It looks very much that the worst has passed. I am almost certain of that. And this disease is no longer such an acute global emergency. And that means now is the opportunity for us, for all of us, to get back to working on climate change, to get back to saving the climate, stopping ourselves from destroying the climate through our activities. And what can help us with that are many lessons and opportunities we have derived from the pandemic. This pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, I think of it as a test run for our struggle against climate change. It has shown us how much we are able to adapt, how much we are able to change our ways, and there's so many other lessons, and so many opportunities for us to rebuild this world in a different way as we rebound from the pandemic. That should be our top priority right now. As we recover from the pandemic, as we get everything back together, let's refurbish it. Let's do things in a different way now, so that we can build a more climate resilient world. Now, and of course, at the same time that this pandemic is going away, and the pandemic seems to be going away, the world now has an entirely new problem that's preoccupying it, the war that Russia has launched in Ukraine. It's not just a disaster for Ukraine, it's creating grave problems for the entire world. It's a huge international crisis that's affecting the lives of people everywhere, and that is likely to. There are the economic effects, there's the food shortages that are coming, and it seems that now this is another thing that will that will throw a hurdle in our way of responding to climate change, of getting our focus back on climate change. But I think that the lesson that we should derive from the last 2 years is that crises and emergencies are going to keep coming. We need to learn how we can fight climate change and protect the environment while still dealing with whatever else we have to deal with. That's what we must do. Because what the past 2 years have taught us is that surviving the challenges of the 21st century are much more difficult than we may have thought previously. We need to build a resilient future, a resilient world in which whatever shock happens to us, whatever disaster, we will still not waver from our path of protecting the environment, because that's only going to bring us more problems and more calamities in the future. So let's do this, and let's see how we can make use of this war to further the purpose of protecting the environment, because this war is also posing obstacles to climate action. Previously, the world was working to wean itself off of coal, but now, because of the war in Russia and the war in Ukraine and the sanctions imposed on Russia, Europe is going back to coal because their supply of the much cleaner fossil fuel natural gas from Russia is much less certain. And that means that many European countries are taking steps to revive their coal usage. That's a very bad sign, and means that they will also delay their targets for becoming carbon neutral. At the same time, this war is driving the world to find ways to is motivating the world further in weaning itself off of fossil fuels, because Europe's energy dependency on Russia is a big problem, and that has to end in order for the world to respond to the war effectively. So so they're looking for ways to they're renewing their drive to find alternative energy sources and creating clean energy, because fossil fuels, they create just dependency on any places where the fuels are extracted. And that's not good for the global economy. An economy where energy is produced locally is much more robust. So let's do this now. Let's become strong, and let's apply all the knowledge and potential we have in the modern world to tackle all these modern challenges. So let's keep up with them, even as the world becomes a more chaotic place. And as we deal with our day-to-day concerns, as we deal with what's affecting us right now, what's affecting the whole world right now, let's keep the future in mind, and let's learn to fight the challenges of today while tackling the grand challenge of preventing a future in which the world's climate has changed so much that it's become a catastrophe for humanity and for life on Earth. We've been through a lot these past 2 years, and we're still going through a lot, but I believe that's made us stronger. It's made us more resilient. Let's enjoy the fact that we're opening up after this pandemic. The world is becoming somewhat a more normal place, but our new normal has to be different, and we have to recognize that things are going to have to change more and more in the future. Either it can be by the climate changing, or it can be by us changing, so we stop harming the environment so much. So let's do this. This is my message for Earth Day 2022. This is a very special Earth Day, as it comes at the end of this pandemic. We have the opportunity now to refocus on protecting the environment, And we have to not lose sight of how important it is to integrate that with our management of this world and all its problems and all its issues, because everything is interconnected.